What's up, Plebheads? I'm Neil, and I'm joined here tonight by my brother,
Jdog.
Time for our initial impressions of Death's Gambit. Jdog, now this is a game we've been following for a long time.
It is, and one that I'm very, very excited for, right? And we pre-ordered it, and just came out August 14th. So we've had about one full day with the game now. I'd say I got about 6 to 7 hours on it, so I have been playing quite a bit.
Well, before we go any further, who also bought a copy of this game?
You did.
Yeah. How rare is that we both buy the same game anymore?
That's rare.
So now we have, you're playing on PS4, I'm playing on my PC, and we're kind of playing almost the same parts, but I would say maybe at our own pace.
Yeah.
Two different kind of play styles. I chose the assassin at the start, and you chose the character with the scythe, correct?
The Acolyte of Death.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So basically, you know, this game is basically being touted as a 2D Dark Souls game.
Which I think is an accurate description.
Fairly accurate, yep. And we're going to get into that here in a bit. So, what you have, you start off, and, you know, without ruining the story, you choose a class. And there's 7 different classes you can choose at the start, and that's going to determine your starting equipment and your starting stats, a la Dark Souls for the most part. So, and the classes really are independent, you know, of what you can do in the game. But they basically determine your starting equipment.
Yes.
And you're going to go through this little tutorial area, basically, where things are pretty simple.
Pretty cut and dry.
You know, they're pretty simple. The enemies are fairly simple. And then you're going to get to this sanctuary area, which is kind of like Firelink Shrine, or like a hub world, right? Where you've got some of your different vendors and some of your different, you know, NPCs that you're going to meet, and then a bunch of branching paths. And that's really where the game starts,
yes,
for the most part.
It takes off from there.
And there is a lot to like in this game, but there are definitely some things that need to be fixed.
I mean, I'm looking at this list you have over here. There is a lot of stuff.
There is a lot, and I want to discuss it. I do, because, you know, hey, you're probably wondering, should I pick this up? And this game is coming out in a month that's filled with Metroidvania releases. We had Chasm back in the end of July. You had Dead Cells last week. You've got this week, and you have Guacamelee 2 next week. So this is kind of sandwiched in there. And, hey, not everybody can afford to buy all 4 of those games. And people want to pick the best games. And I understand that.
Absolutely.
And there are some things to consider here if you're thinking about buying this. Because while it does have a lot of great points, there are definitely some things that are pretty annoying.
I agree with you on that. I find myself some parts of this game just going, what the hell?
Exactly.
But then there's some parts where I'm like, that was so cool. I'm really glad they did that.
Absolutely. So let's discuss those. Let's start off by talking about the pros of this game.
Absolutely.
And I think you can see it right here in this, right here from this. The artwork in this is phenomenal.
Oh, it is incredible.
I
Straight
absolutely love it. I absolutely love the art style in this game. Now, a lot of people use Salt and Sanctuary to compare this game to.
Why?
Because it plays that way. It's a 2D Dark Souls, so that's really a type of style of game that it is. But the artwork and the vistas and the locations in this game are so much better than Salt and Sanctuary.
I think this game is 10 times better than Salt and Sanctuary.
And the reason for that is you have more open spaces, right? Salt and Sanctuary really takes place with muted colors, underground.
Yes.
So everything feels very dark and cramped and, you know, confined in that game. This game is much more open spaces, much bigger and grander. And so the artwork and the sprite work here is absolutely fantastic. I love the graphics in this game.
I agree with you on that. 100% on that statement.
Yep.
You know, when you first started playing this game, I sat down with you the first night you played, and I thought to myself, okay, you know, I mean, 2D, whatever, you know? And I watched you play, and I watched you play, and I watched you play. And as I'm watching your gameplay, I'm thinking to myself, I really want to play this game. And, you know, honestly, for the $20, I've already gotten more time out of this game than I would say 60 to 70% of the games in my Steam library.
Yep.
This is, yeah, and the graphics are phenomenal. I think personally the gameplay is really smooth, and I love the music.
Yep.
But I'm sure we'll get to all that stuff. So Jdog, why don't you just keep us rolling?
So
here?
you got one of the better looking 2D games that I've seen, as far as I'm concerned. I love the spaces in this game.
Yes.
They are awesome. And the second thing that you just mentioned is the music. It is incredible. And it is a fully fledged out soundtrack, right? I mean, you really have some epic boss music. You've got kind of the calming music in the sanctuary areas. I love the soundtrack in this game. Very, very well done, and a extremely big positive compliment to the overall game. It may not necessarily reflect the tone of the game sometimes. You know, you have some maybe more sweeping orchestral scores and things in a game that focuses on death and things like that, but I still think the music is good, and I like listening to it. And at the end of the day, that's all I really care about with my soundtracks. I want to listen to the music, and I want it to complement the game and not detract from it. So I like the music. From a gameplay perspective, there are tons of secrets to find in this game. Tons of items. Think Dark Souls on this, guys. I mean, making jumps, making falls into the correct little spaces, just things like that, opening shortcuts. There's tons of that, and I love that in this game. I really think it's a major positive when games encourage exploration. And more on that note, throughout each area in this game, you can find tomes that give you histories or lore or different things on the bosses in those areas. This is one of the coolest inclusions in this game because, number one, it reinforces that drive for you to explore the areas, and then those tomes give you a boost when you fight the boss. You'll see when I'm fighting this boss here, I'm doing 10% more damage to him because I've collected both of the tomes for him. So it's a really neat way to encourage exploration and then give you a bonus towards fighting the boss for doing it.
Yeah.
I really, really like that.
Yeah, I like that too, and I noticed that I always feel like, hey, I didn't waste my time, you know, going and doing that exploration because I found a tome or both tomes, because there's two tomes for each boss, right?
Yep.
And I find myself I feel rewarded in this game. I do, and I don't feel like those things I'm doing are a waste of my time.
Yep.
And that's
2 tomes deal 10% more damage.
And I think that is super, super important in a game like this.
Yep. So I really, really like that in this game. So basically the world is set up where there's a strip through the middle of it, or a corridor through the middle of it with gates. And you come around, you go, and then you go up above or down below, explore the areas, come down, unlock those gates, and you can bring your horse with you all the way through. And so it acts as a de facto fast travel.
Yes.
There's little bells throughout each area. You ring the bell, your horse magically appears. Get on your horse, and you can gallop basically to anywhere you want to go. It's a really neat way to make this relatively large game feel very small, because you can get to the start and then back to where you were probably in under 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that helps keep me interested in playing, so I'm not spending 30, 40 minutes at a time backtracking to certain, like those, like you'll see you have those, it's not a bonfire, but it's like a statue or like a
death statues are your bonfires in this game.
So, okay. But it helps that, you know, I feel like I'm not spending my whole play session backtracking, doing this, doing that. That gets old after a while.
Yep.
So that is really a nice inclusion. I like it a lot.
Yep. So the fast travel in this game, as you unlock those points, is really, really awesome. I really like it, and I appreciate that when game designers take my time into consideration when they make a game.
Important.
I really do. Another major positive in this game, the bosses are awe-inspiring. I mean, you're watching me fight this bad boy right here. This is the Gaian, the fallen Gaian. There's the Bulwark of Aldwyn. There's all kinds of neat bosses. Maybe not all of them are as cool as this one, but they all have their tricks and there are different things that you need to figure out in order to do well against them. And I love the design of them. They look cool. They're hard as hell, and it's genuinely pretty epic when you beat one, to be honest. And that's, kind of makes you feel like a badass.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I
Yeah.
really do. The
It's
bosses are excellent. Another pro for this game, there's lots of abilities that you can get for your weapons, which are integrated within the combat, right? So each weapon is going to have different abilities that you can buy or acquire. You buy them from the blacksmiths or the different people that you meet. And this is really what you would call a power attack, right? You see me do this jumping attack with my sword and bringing that sword down and doing massive damage.
That attack is so OP.
But, so that's your power attack, right? And that's really an important part of the combat in this game. If you're trying to do the combat in this game without using your powers or your abilities, I think you're going to struggle. Because that really packs the punch that you need to do the damage you need against these bosses. And then you can also upgrade weapons in this and armor in this game to up your stats, which is another thing I really like. It's one of the things about Dark Souls, I think, is one of the neatest parts of it. You find a weapon and you use soul stones in this game to upgrade them. So you can upgrade the weapons a lot and, feel stronger as you move forward, which is important as the enemies increase in difficulty.
Yes.
So there's a lot to like here, right? Great looking world, great soundtrack, epic bosses, tons of exploration.
But
But
some stuff
ultimately, you have an unpolished gem here. You do. And I think it's why initially I would tell you guys that I would recommend waiting a bit on this if you haven't bought it already. And the reason for that is I'm really hoping the developers are going to be patching some things, because there are a ton of annoyances that have crept up through my play session. So I want to start discussing some of those here, so you guys get an understanding of what we're seeing in this early day one, basically, of the game, and why we think the game needs patching. For the most part, I selected the Acolyte of Death, and we'll just talk about classes and balance here to start this discussion. And I selected the Acolyte of Death, right? And he starts with the Scythe. And the Scythe has this awesome attack where you swing it across the ground. And it looks awesome, right? And it's a big-ass Scythe. And now here you're watching my gameplay, and I'm using a longsword, which is a strength-based weapon. The Acolyte of Death starts with a finesse-based weapon. And finesse and strength work basically the same in this game. Except that they don't. Because the strength weapons feel far more satisfying. Far more like they hit like they're supposed to. The finesse weapons feel kind of bitchy. I felt very underpowered with my Scythe. And I changed it to the longsword. I had very little stats in strength and 10 more points in stats in finesse, and the longsword would kill the enemies quicker. So I'm just not sure there. There seems to be, in many aspects of the game, a balancing issue. Whether it's timing of attacks, recovery from rolling, or a weird stop after an attack that then leaves you open to be attacked. There is something just off about the different weapons and the way that they respond. And so I basically changed from a finesse build initially to a strength build. And you're using the daggers.
And I haven't found any reason to change.
But you definitely, the daggers, really, I think if you're doing finesse, you almost want to use the daggers.
Yeah. Oh,
because
they're awesome.
The other finesse weapons should be strength weapons. So it just, there's a real lack of clarity and balancing, I think, on certain weapons and the way that they work. So more on that. There seems to be a weird combat cadence where your character has a certain sluggishness about him that the enemies don't have.
That is a really important balance in a Souls-like game.
And
Really
it's as
important.
though the enemies can attack for days, where you can basically attack once or roll once,
And you're done.
and you're done.
A good example of this, I think, and you and I will kind of know what we're talking about here. Good example of this, I would say, is those Gold Knights.
The Gold Knights.
Swing, 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 swing. It's like, dude, really? I mean, if you have like a 15-second exhaustion afterwards, that's fine. But otherwise, you shouldn't be doing that, bro.
Yeah, you can even see it here with this owl. Now, I just hit him with, you see there I did that jump attack. That's my power attack. And he just attacks me right after it. Here's another weird thing where he, and the way the enemies will turn mid-attack.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you're supposed to roll to avoid it, but the enemy turns to hit you anyway. So what's the point of rolling? So there's a very big disconnect between me feeling that I'm doing what I should be doing,
Yep.
and the way the enemy is responding to it. Like when the enemy's in mid-attack and I roll through, he shouldn't be able to turn around and hit me. It drives me nuts. And we see this with the Gold Knights as well. A very unbalanced enemy. Where the only way that I feel you can beat them is to overpower them.
It's
Because
similar
you're
to
sure
beating
as
them so far.
you're sure as hell not going to be able to, like, you know, avoid them. You just got to get in there and see, hopefully do enough damage before they kill you. That's the reality of the situation.
Yep, and that's very true.
Because they can attack without stopping,
Yeah,
it seems.
Yeah.
Well, your character can't. And your character is bound by stamina. And these characters, the enemies, are not.
At least in Dark Souls, it did feel like the enemies were bound by stamina. of
Or there
some
was
sort.
at least a defined cooldown period after
Yes.
their attacks. They couldn't just be attacking forever.
Well, even in Monster Hunter, there's
Yeah,
like,
they have
there's-
some exhaustion and things.
Yeah,
so
they have
we
a
see
semblance
that.
of a stamina system.
So that
There's
needs,
that back attack
yeah,
we're talking about.
which is just ridiculous. So the enemy can switch directions with their attack faster than I can. It's very strange. That needs to. I really hope they fix that.
How about some glitches, Jdog?
So we've seen some of the different combat things, but we've also experienced some glitches as well. And the most egregious one for me is that during a part in the game, I wasn't able to reclaim my feathers, even though I had found them, and it said I had reclaimed my feathers. But I couldn't. They wouldn't add into my thing, so I had to use my souls that I had gotten to reclaim them. So, again, there he actually responded to my attack. That was amazing. But, so we've seen a lot of that. We've seen some weird frame rate things. We've seen some weird black screening, and just some things like that, some screen tearing. And that is some stuff that can be tidied up. There's no doubt about it. And I hope they will. I really do. But definitely the one where we've lost our feathers and couldn't get it back was a major, major glitch on PS4 that I really hope. I've seen it mentioned on some of the Reddit forums as well. So I really hope the developers are going to take care of that and fix that.
Yeah, I hope so too.
But that was definitely a major problem.
Absolutely.
So outside of that, there were some other things that were disconcerting as well. A lot of the backstory in this game is told to you through cutscenes after you die. And I just thought that was a strange way to go about it. You almost reward the player for failing, since I kind of want to know what the story is, and I want to know my character's backstory, and I do want to be connected to the character. but I'm only learning that after I suck and die. So I thought that was a very strange design decision.
I don't think the devs were secretive about that. You are meant to die in this game. So I'm not going to say that's a con. I realize maybe you don't like it.
I'm not saying it's a con. I'm saying it's a strange decision, right? That something I want to learn and something that I want to experience in the game is being delivered to me after I fail. I'm not sure.
But to be fair, even when you die in this game, you are succeeding because you're getting shards. You're not losing your shards because when you die, like you lose souls in Dark Souls. So I don't know if that's necessarily failure, especially in a game that is all about death, like this game is. So I'm not going to sit here and argue the point with you because I think we both have our own opinions on it. But I actually was going to, when you started talking about this, I was actually going to say I think it's a genius way to tell backstory, as opposed to not, throwing it in my face when I'm trying to walk and go to these new places. Well, I've died, so I'm kind of along for the ride. You may as well tell me something, give me something I haven't seen already.
Fair enough. We each have our own opinion of it.
Yeah. Now fight me on YouTube.
Another thing I thought was relatively annoying to me, just today during my playthrough, I wanted to explore an area, right? And see what was gonna be there. So I go through and there's no way to really see, right? They're just dark areas. You walk into them and then you go to the next screen, right? And I go out there and I'm in a boss fight. And I was like, wait a second.
Shit.
I want to leave. Right? I'm not actually want to fight a boss because there was another couple of ways I could have went to see if there's something different I wanted to do. And it wasn't just a boss fight, it was against an unkillable boss at this time in the game. And now I ended up in an area that's like a weird underwater thing. And I'm like, wait, am I supposed to be here? Should I be here? Should I not be here? And so it just felt very disconnected. Almost like it was a area that the devs had created, didn't know how to incorporate, and so it's kind of like one of those, we'll get them to go here by doing this. So I didn't like that, right? I feel like if we're gonna get into a boss fight, I kind of want to.
I'd like to know.
I want to like be able to initiate that fight when it's time.
Convenient for you.
When I'm ready for it. I don't want to just end up fighting an enemy, especially an unkillable one.
Especially when it's going to take you to a place, and that place you went to is quite difficult.
And it took me to a place that was outside of the normal part of the game,
yes.
or outside of the current area I was in. So I just feel very disconnected from my play right now, right? Disconnected from, and I just want to get back to where I was so I can go explore some more.
Fair enough.
So those were some issues I really had with some of the design, right?
Okay.
And you don't have a map in this game, so you can't really see kind of where you are in relation to the rest of the world. It's all kind of mental, and you have the connecting corridor basically, but you don't really have a way to see the entire game map.
I got you.
Which would be really nice to see that and see how everything fits together.
Yes.
So, again, I can live without a map, right? It's not going to ruin the game for me. I'll make it through this area and hopefully get back to where I was. But definitely some of the way certain things feel and operate in this game, I would love to see changed. I really would. For me to basically eschew the entire finesse build and go to strength was very weird, and I was like, wow.
I wasted my first 15
I just
levels.
wasted levels. I wasted finesse. I wasted my time by using a weapon that
wasn't right.
Should have been better, but is being, overpowered by a weapon I have less stats in.
A weapon you found on the ground.
When I found. So, definitely if you are going to pick this up, you're going to have to probably try all the weapons to see what one you like. And then the way the weapons scale, it's basically strength scaling, finesse scaling. Right? When you compare that to a game like Dark Souls that had A through E scaling on the weapons, or S through E, with different stats, where weapons could be used by characters with, maybe you could use a higher dex character with a weapon that could scale both strength and dex. You don't have that here. So you either are going to pump everything into strength or everything into finesse. You're not going to change. And you're not going to have, really care about both stats. You're going to find a weapon, and that's going to be it.
Or you're going to find 2.
At most. And so you have it's just it just feels a little
unbalanced at times.
Yeah. And how few weapons are there? It feels like there's so few. There's an axe, a spear,
a hammer,
a sword, a great sword, daggers,
bow,
and bows.
A tome, too.
And tomes for magic. And that's it. And this is another very significant disappointment for me.
Yeah.
Where are the special items? There's a katana that scales with magic, apparently. But, okay, whatever. But where's like, okay, in Dark Souls you've got the boss weapons, right?
Yep.
You've got the special weapons, right? Chaos Blade, things like that, that are really interesting weapon finds, right? This game literally has like 8 weapons that I've got 7 hours in the damn game. I've seen 8 different weapons, maybe 10. Not, and it's like, am I missing something here? I was seriously wondering, because I'm like, well, if I upgrade this basic longsword, I was thinking that at the start of the game, if I upgrade the basic longsword, I'm just going to find a better longsword later on, right? I shouldn't have to wait. I'm not going to buy this basic longsword. But then as I went along, I never found any weapons. So it's like, well, I guess I will buy the longsword and upgrade it. But yeah, I felt like the weapon variety was really, really low in this game.
Yeah, you find Vados longsword or whatever it is, and that's
it.
Pretty much it.
That's your longsword. And the Aldwin greatsword. And that's your greatsword. And you have or there's a scythe, or there's daggers, or there's a hammer, or a halberd, or a spear.
Yep.
And so, yeah. Again, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe more weapons are going to show up later on. But, wow. I'm through 4 or 5 bosses here, and that's all I've seen. So, yeah. Kind of disappointing on that.
It is. That is a little bit of a letdown for me.
I was thinking I would find some cool, specialty weapons that would really be awesome.
Badass, yeah. Like, even the daggers, I'm like, can I get a different set of daggers?
Yeah. Where's the variety? So that was definitely a letdown. So I guess I'm going through the whole game with the initial longsword that you get. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you're probably not wrong.
That really could have been better. Unless the weapons change based on the abilities, and I'm wondering if that is kind of their workaround for it, and they say, hey, we got different abilities that you can equip, and that'll change the way you use the weapon. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fine. But just know that going into the game, you have 8 choices for weapons.
You're not going to have 18 different longswords in your inventory at one time. You're going to have 1.
Yeah. Unless we're missing something. So that's where I'm at with the game. Again, there is a lot to like.
There's some things to dislike.
I do want to caution it, though, guys. There is enough glitches that really had me angry earlier today during my playthrough to not be able to get my plumes back like I wanted, and some of the screen tearing and some of the weird stuff that was happening. So I just want to caution on that if you're thinking about buying this. I want to see an update or 2 come through for this game before I can confidently recommend it at the $20 point. At 10, I think this is a buy because I think you're going to at least get 1 playthrough out of it. And you get a really good-looking game. So for $10, I think it's a buy for sure. At the $20 price point, I want you to wait. I want to make sure we get a couple updates on it. And I want to make sure the developers are going to stick to their word and they are going to actually, support this post-launch and tidy up some of the stuff that we're noticing here.
Absolutely.
So if we get that, then I can confidently recommend it at $20. Right now I'm at $10 for this, no more than that, based on what I've played. But a lot of good, but definitely some things that need to be cleaned up.
Well, you know, Jdog, I'll be curious to see what anybody in the comments that's played this thinks. You guys can like this video if you enjoyed our honest, no BS first impressions and initial review here for Death's Gambit. You know, Jdog, like you were saying, a lot of these 2D kind of platformer side scrollers out here in the last month, coming month here. You have a lot of options to choose from. Death's Gambit, probably not the worst game on the market, but like you were saying, there's definitely some things that need to be fixed.
Well, you look at it, and it's like you look at a game like Dead Cells, right, that really spent time in early access, right, to really fine-tune everything. And when you play that game, when you die in Dead Cells, it's your own damn fault.
Mm-hmm.
When you die in this game,
Not always.
I don't feel that it's my fault. I feel that it's bullshit sometimes. Let's just be honest. I hate that. So, in a Dark Souls inspired game, you've got to mitigate that as much as possible.
Yes.
I shouldn't die from bullshit. I should die because I fucked up, right? And that really hasn't been the case all the time here. And this game definitely needs a layer or two of polish in post-release updates. It really does, and I hope we're going to get it.
We'll see each and every one of you right here next time for more honest content like this.
Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone.
GG, ya plebs. This has been Death's Gambit. Thanks for watching.